I'm really sorry to interrupt you, but I will just spend 15-20 minutes because I have promised Raza Shah, who is a good, not only friend and brother, but also a good supporter of Urdu University. That's why, I had to pay a lot of that he had given me time. I have to pay back, and that payback will be in present 15 minutes time that I have borrowed from Saeed Khan. Is again a younger brother, so usually I had the privilege because of the older brother. I can, intrude anytime I want. Thanks you, Saeed Khan. In just 15 minutes, what I'm going to talk to you is more Saeed Khan and Raza and everybody else is more experienced in this discipline than I am. My humble submission and as a student of biological sciences, specifically get the credit that we introduced dual use of education subject in Pakistan in Quaid-e-Azam University a couple of decades back, where nobody, even in Europe, understood what dual use of education is. There was a survey in 29 European countries, and they were given a questionnaire, and believe me, the response was very low. What is really a dual use of education? And then to a professor, what are your obligations, either national or international, to keep your lab or yourself or your environment safeguard of biological threat? So that is, if I ask you even today, I wish I could have a pleasure of having hours. I could have gone through middle of you and asking several questions that do you know what are your national legislation regarding bioterrorism, for example? Uh, do you know what are the international regimes that are watching your labs as a threat to biosafety and biosecurity? So there are several regimes that we are working to. So what I'm going to talk to you is understanding this global and national commitment regarding biosafety, biosecurity. 2024, the global risk, what are the top 10? And if you look at this, AI generated misinformation and disinformation, cyber attacks, and here release of biological agents, outbreak of armed conflict. I chose this for you because that is related to you. You know what Corona has taught us? One thing, that you can get the result of bioterrorism without deploying a bioweapon. How? You do misinformation and disinformation in the society, say, oh, this is a conspiracy of, this and that. You don't need to vaccinate yourself. Oh, it's just a temperature. Go ahead. And if you go to my brother who was working in a hospital, didn't want to go to hospital saying that they will inject me and I will die because this is an American conspiracy. Doctor will get X dollar amount. So that is the influence of social media negatively. So that is what we are faced with, and that is what our youth should be understanding, knowing all this. Now, when we talk about biosafety, a person, it's not only for Pakistan, by the way, we are talking global. We are talking about even the West America. A professor died because of a bacteria he acquired from the lab. And that was a famous story. So this is that you need to understand what's happening globally. I wish this works. Yeah. And how then when this was understood, World War II, World War One and Two, and then people were worried that what will happen. Of course, nuclear is a big thing. You need to fly an aeroplane or something missile to attack someone. But for biological, you just make all of you can be bombs. We can inject something in you. You roam around in a country and you can take whatever you want. So that is these were the events that forced us to have some kind of legislation as to how to prevent it, as to how to look into it. I'm sorry, I have to move forward. And here is it. When you talk about laboratories, academicians, students, and stakeholders, I call it LAS briefly, and going to the upper world from you as an individual, as a student, or as a stakeholder, going towards institutional biosafety and bioethics committee, going up to the universities, R&D institution, go, and finally United Nations. So who is responsible for what? That is what my brief. Oh my God, ये जब जल्दी होती है ना हर चीज खराब होती है. Because for them, I'm begging, I have a begging bowl like Shabazz Sharif has, and I'm going someone to get some money for my institution, so that's why I'm in hell. और उसने मुझे दूर से यूं करके, and I'm just snapping and going there. So that's what I'm rushing. Now we talk about BTWC. This is Biotoxin Weapon Convention International, and that is, it started from 1925 in Geneva Accord. They thought of this World War II, and then they were thinking that what should we do to avoid, to minimize the risk of bioweapon. And when they did this in 1975, there was a weapon convention, and then there was a chemical weapon convention, and we have a web of prevention. Every 4 or 5 years, we have a review conference in Geneva. I've been to, as an academician, you should feel proud that I was usually attending that as a part of Asian representative of academia, and to talk about all these things that we are having. So this negotiation started, and we had a lot of things. There was a weapon convention. The structure was that there is a preamble, there are various articles, and after every 5 years, we do the review conference so that we could amend, add things, whatever is happening in the world. There are various articles as obligation of you as a scientist that you internationally are bound to follow. One, that you, in any circumstances, you should not develop, produce, stockpile, or otherwise acquire or retain biological weapon. This is number one. This is for countries, this is for individuals, this is for everybody, because, for example, nuclear threat, it may destroy a specific region, but biologically, if something happens, this will be the loss of the whole world. Corona was one small example, be in the nature, be from the lab, be whatever happened. Zoonosis, वो debate किसी वक्त काश मेरे पास वक्त हो, and I promise I will come again to talk about all this. And there are different articles that even if you have to destroy it. You cannot transfer it to any other country, and then that there should be necessary domestic efforts. Means every country should have legislation to stop not doing these things in the labs. And so this can be, there are various regimes in it. Number one, compliance, development, institutionalization, a regime of research. This doesn't mean that you should not be doing research. Specifically, countries like Pakistan, we are not given the equipment that we need, saying that it is dual use. So that is where, if we are responsible, we have legislation, and we promise that it will not, this equipment will be not used for the other purpose, for the weapon, because like you have a knife, you can kill somebody, and you can have some fruit to serve to Zapta. And same is true for several other things. These are the examples that you can do. So it was in effect, and we are signatories, Pakistan, and those who are not, one of them is Israel. Haven't signed this so far. So there was review conferences every 5 years, and 9th review conference of the weapon was in 2022, where we discussed, and you should again feel proud, Pakistanis. We, Pakistan, along with China, proposed code of conduct for scientists internationally, globally, that we should have, and this is Pakistan who did this. And this was done some 10 years back. We did it, and now our ambassador in US, he was that time ambassador in China. We proposed that. I'm in love with him, and he's in love with me. We are very good friends. So that is what we did, Pakistan, and now it's being adopted as a code, international code of conduct, and the pioneer is Pakistan. So you Pakistanis, you are very good in several other things. You should feel proud of this country that you belong to. So this is the nationalization of BTWC. What should we be doing? How should we be protecting? The difficulty and mechanism, and why it's more important in Pakistan. If you look at the number of PhDs, this is 10 years back, but today is the truth. The number, just what I want to tell you is that majority of the degrees are in biological or related discipline. You are the one who are more brilliant. I'm sorry, I'm not prejudiced with chemists. Chemists are also, because now it's interdisciplinary, they are part of us. They are not excluded from the web. You are part of us, because synthetic biology is nothing without chemistry. It's 70% chemistry, and rest is biology, information technology. So that is what it is, and that is why we need more such kind of meetings. Thanks, salute to Raza Shah, who is doing all this. And that is why he's doing it. This is what. And if I had asked you a question, do you have some kind of efforts towards this direction? You may have said, sir, I don't remember. But let me apprise you that you have done a lot as a Pakistani. In 2012, you had an intellectual property right organization that is somehow keeping an eye on all of these inventions. Then come on down and you have a lot of things. Finally, we were also protection against harassment, etc. This is a part of it. And you are doing a lot of good of things that we should appreciate it. Look at this, the beauty. 95% women in this hall. And we salute you. If we educate you, we are educating one family. And we have to provide you the environment that you deserve to be there. And that is what Pakistani, at least we are doing legislations and things that are happening. So when I talk about dual use, there is a red line between these two. Use and abuse. Use is there, civilian, energy, defense, etc. Abuse is here, offensive, military, weapon, etc. So that is that you have to keep an eye. Here again, the similar thing. There is a weapon use, there is a peaceful use. And sometimes with this excuse, Iraq was destroyed by saying that they have biological weapons. And when it was destroyed, oh, sorry, there was nothing. Millions of people were killed. And even today, that is not stabilized country. So who is responsible for such act? That is what we have deplored. We have to think about it. So from when we talk about the dual use on this again, very simply, very quickly from the basic labs, the goods on the green and the bad on the red. So everything can be misused, and there are different levels from basic lab skills towards having synthetic biology that I'm talking to you, every genome editing, etc. There are good and bad use, and we have to keep in mind how can we minimize the risk of the bad use. And here is an example of synthetic biology, where the scientists are sometimes crazy saying that Allah has created something which we read it, we know. All the living life are four alphabets, adenine, thymine, guanine, cytosine. Now we can rewrite it. We can create life without having any template, just chemicals. And this is what they did, in fact. There was a polio synthetic virus without any template, and now they are going multicellular, etc. So you have to have boundaries, otherwise nature will not forgive you. And that is what we all have to. And you understand, when we talk about biological agent, there are different kind of agents that we have to be careful. Sometimes you think it's only in the lab. It's not only in the lab. It's not only with educated people. You know, in the towns, in the villages, in the mountains, what the villagers do, if they are angry with some community, they have this one plant called cascuta. They throw it on the berries, and there is no honey, berry honey जिसको आप कहते हो, वो तमाम बेचारा फूल मर जाते हैं, और वो इकोनॉमी उस गांव की तो होती है कि एक दो प्रोडक्ट पे they are gone. So when we say dual use and misuse, you have to understand broadly what can happen and what's happening. And there is another plant, ephedra. Ephedra is very good. I'm a herbal doctor too, for your throat and cough, etc., etc. In America, they thought it's weight reducing. They had a lot of ephedra. Many people died. Specifically, mazarat ke saath ladies. So that is what you need to understand all this. So that is prokaryotic genomic that I was talking about. These are the different risks that we can have if we are not, careful about the environment, etc. Biopesticide ka dual use hai, both in weapon, both in getting some good crop for yourself. And of poppy, you all know, you can have injection of morphine, etc. If there is no poppy, you cannot operate somebody. And at the same time, mashallah, आपकी youth nowadays in the universities is enjoying all that heroin and क्या शीशा कहते हैं, पता नहीं क्या कहते हैं. They do it. So these are the uses that you know. Narco terrorism, इस पे a lot of debate है, लेकिन इस पे फिर एक issue ये भी आता है. The West thought that we should spray a fungus, and I was in that meeting, by the way, in Japan it was being discussed. कि जी हम फंगस थ्रो कर लेते, तमाम पॉपी खत्म हो जाएगी, ना रहेगा बाज, ना बजेगी बांसुरी. But then I said, what will happen after all the poppy crops are gone? That fungus will need a passport and visa not to enter in Pakistan and in other countries too. Secondly, what that fungus will do? Will it die itself? No. What will happen is that this eradication program that they had for cannabis and poppy, etc., this fungus is responsible for a lot of diseases, for non-target organism, including human being. Many humans will die because of this, and a lot of biodiversity will be lost because of this. So that is not the simple solution that you are thinking about. And secondly, जो पॉपी आप दूसरे मुल्कों से खरीदते हो are more money than they sell it for heroin. Pay them money. They're poor people, poor communities. Good that you can use poppy for good. So these are the things that you as a scientist have to convince international people. A human hazard from the 70% mortality of that fungus. So you understand all this. So what we need to do is prevention and response, proactive, we call it PPP, not Pakistan People's Party, but proactive, preventive, preparation. And this is what we propose as a Pakistani academia to the world, that we want to do this containment and aftercare. We have to prepare all of you for all of this. लेकिन ऊपर से शायद कह रहे हैं कि शायद हमने गलती की जो ये एक स्पीशी भेज दी इधर. So this species is responsible for many things. It has to be Ashraf al-Makhlukat and do a lot of good things. We are already doing a lot of things with HEC. There is IBC, there is department, they have OREC committees, they have QEC, but in real meanings, if you work. Not only signature because it's Zata is friend of mine, so it's okay. X is not a friend of mine, Rubina is not a friend of mine, so I don't sign it. That is what you have to think about, that how you do it. IBC, there are a lot of constraints too, fundings and other issues are there, regulation, we have to decide, who has to decide, categories of risk, etc., or biodefense ka budget, anthrax ka ye kahani, 9/11 ke baad, when US scientists came to know that we can get, how can we get the money? So they sent these letters to one of the American scientists. Thanks God he was not a Muslim. Otherwise, फिर हमारी खैर नहीं थी. He sent these letters and he got millions of rupees of research project. And this was just to scare them. Like आजकल पाकिस्तान में भी एक वाकया हुआ. So that is what happened. And then when there was an investigation, that scientists were there. I was having once in Cambridge a lecture and I said, when something happens in the West, we all pray, Ya Allah, isme Musalman ya Pakistani na ho. Warna hamari khair nahi hai. So we are always labeled with Alanke. And I told you, we are proud Pakistani that we had already proposed something good for international people and prevention. So we should be talking about social responsibility of scientists, etc., accountability, education, information, oversight, and ethics. Ethics, that is, that we should be having every class. I request all the teachers that you should have 10% of your zakat time in character building of the people. Talking to them that, beta, this is our country. This is the only country that we have and we should be proud. And let's contribute to this. And color-blind commitment, I usually say. Don't discriminate people on caste, color, religion, language, etc. Treat them as a good human being. And inshallah, we will be doing a lot of good for the country. So from individual wider to the world, as I said, we all have to work together. There are challenges in the landscape in Pakistan, like infectious diseases, terrorism, zoonotic, etc., etc. And we all have to be apprised of all this. I wish I could have time and spend more with you, but we did few slides for company ki mashhoori ke liye. This is when we started with the international world, with international funding in Pakistan, dual use education project in Pakistan. And Quaid-e-Azam University, we printed a lot of books, etc. Everything is available. These young pioneers now, they're all big professors, locally, internationally. We went to all international forum. We said, we Pakistani are proud of our country and we want to impose something on ourselves, restrictions, etc. This is UN meeting, and I represented academia of the world, only one professor, talking about all this. There is a Security Council resolution 1940. And we were talking to them that how we implemented this in Pakistan. And that's what we got some recognition also. And we also are planning in FUAST. There he comes, my beloved, my last love. And here we are having to have National Institute of Biorisk Management, inshallah, in the near future. And all these professors will be working there. and we will be helping all the Pakistani students by risk management training courses, etc. So this again, this is on the World UN booklet, this picture from Pakistan. Pakistan is the country where this discipline is being taught as a course, a PhD, compulsory course of PhD in MPhil. We introduce in many of the universities. So, सिर्फ जवानों के लिए young researchers aspire to explain the world and fix its problem, but they are increasingly finding their ambitions are thwarted. हम सीनियर्स पे रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है, हमारे जूनियर्स, ये बच्चे बहुत अच्छे हैं, बच्चे बहुत अच्छे, हम थोड़े से, हम पता नहीं क्यों डिक्टेटोरियल है, हम पता नहीं क्यों इनको उस तरह है इधर उधर. तो फॉर सीनियर्स, प्लीज माय जूनियर्स हैव वेरी गुड आइडियाज, help them out to have something good. Disinformation, etc. This is what Academy of Sciences today, Raza is doing all this. When I was Secretary General, we had links all around the world and national and global. These were in Corona. We had these workshops and ideas about everything. And you can look at this. You can think, and we did it webinars and seminars. वो मुझे कोई बहाना बनाता था, एक सोसाइटी थी, I shouldn't name it, कि जी कोरोना कुछ नहीं कर सकते. बाबा हम तो कोरोना में, बल्कि ये जो आज ऑनलाइन एटसेट्रा है, this is the blessings of corona. And we did this thing that we could be doing. Another last slide probably, that Pakistani, my lab there, this is called Mosul and Qaeda University, probably the second lab in the world, that we take an oath from our MPhil and PhD graduates कि मैं अच्छी बच्ची रह के बाहर जा रही हूँ voluntarily. ये मेडिकल वाले एथिक्स का, लेकिन वो यहाँ से बोलते हैं लेकिन यहाँ से नहीं. इंसानियत को मजीद दुखी नहीं करते. But what we do is we try to take an oath. This is what we introduce along with France, and we do. So we have to really implement all this. And here is it, the final one, that the future is not some place that you're going, but one we are creating. कोई जगह नहीं है जो आप जाओ पहुंचोगे. Whatever the ways, the path that you are not there, but that is you are making it. और जो एफर्ट उसमें आप लगाओगे, उससे फ्यूचर को आप पहुंचोगे. अगर आप ब्लाइंडली चल रहे हो नहीं बस फ्यूचर ठीक है, डिग्री शिग्री, ये नहीं. आपने अपने यूथ को, अपने मुल्क को, अपने सबको एक करना है. So that is that the need of ongoing innovation, vigilance and adaptability in a rapidly evolving landscape. That is what we need to do.